Hello and welcome back to the Blue Tinted Glasses YouTube channel for this week's episode, I suppose, of Good Morning Foxes. Nice and early on a Sunday morning. I'm not hungover this weekend, but I am joined by Anil. Anil, are you hungover, mate?
I am a bit depressed, to be honest with you, after yesterday. You know, should have had the 3 points, but I'm not hungover, so it could be worse.
Yeah, good. Football hangover, not alcohol hangover. We'll go with that. To anybody that is watching, please let us know in the comments what you thought to the game yesterday. Every single comment that you put in the chat will come up on screen and we will discuss it. So let us know all sorts, what you thought to the individual performances, what you thought to the team in general, what you thought to Steve Cooper, his substitutions, what you thought to who was your man of the match, even what you thought to Palace, I suppose. Let us know. And we will discuss it. But before we get to the comments, Anil, let's start with a nice little chat about the whole midfield situation, because I think we were worrying a little bit that we were going to see that midfield, but it was actually okay, wasn't it?
Well, it was. It was more than okay. I mean, you just mentioned your man of the match. Spoilers, I'll give you mine. It was Wilfred Ndidi, the Nigerian Messi. Absolutely unbelievable performance. And I think actually him being withdrawn probably cost us the game. Fair play, he probably got tired. But there was nothing wrong with it whatsoever. What the frustrating thing with the matches yesterday is we literally had it won. We had it done and dusted. And then we've given it away and just very negative substitutions, poor game management. Someone shared with me yesterday, there's something like a threat graph where it shows you how likely it is that the other team's going to score. And basically, the game is pretty even. And then for the last 15 minutes, it's just all Palace. Yeah. And so, you know, some people would say, because basically what it comes down to yesterday is, were we unlucky to, you know, give it away, or because, you know, Cody makes a brain dead decision, or was it inevitable? And I feel it was inevitable, unfortunately. So coming back to midfield, it started well. There's no problem there. You got to give Ndidi his praises there. The only thing that worries me is that, would you start that same way again? Yeah, that's exactly the one that we're talking about. There you can see. So yeah, you can see that from the second half, there's no blue on the bit down below, zero threat. And, you know, sometimes the best way to defend is to attack, to pose a threat. If you don't pose a threat and you've got a gassed Vardy up front, that's what's going to happen. But you asked me about the midfield and I completely answered with a different question. But the midfield did look good until we started making changes. I think the one that killed it was Hamza for Ndidi, to be honest with you. And then maybe even worse, he took off Mavadidi and put on Cody, and that changed the structure. Whereas I think if he'd just kept the same structure but with more energetic players, like instead of Hamza, if that had been Bilal, I think we win the game.
Well, this is the thing, mate. Clibbo, and by the way, guys, get your comments in, please. Let me know what you think to the end. We will discuss them all. But Clibbo1 says, invited the pressure. Now, this is what I'm saying, man. Like, as soon as you see the substitution being made, because one argument from one side of the fan base is that, you know, any smart, experienced Premier League manager would bring on, you know, Hamza Chowdhury, who's kind of like a destroyer, if you like, and then also bring on one of the most experienced centre-backs in the whole of the Premier League in Connor Cody. But I agree with you completely. I think it was the change of the structure, the change of the system or the formation that actually just invited so much pressure, because I feel as if, yes, Palace, it was just wave after wave of attack, but we actually asked them to do that. We invited that upon ourselves, right?
100%, and that's why it was self-inflicted. It's very basic, right? You know, if you're not posing a threat down the other end, yeah, I bet it was just Joe. He's on, come on, Connor. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think we were victims of our own mistakes. And look, you know what? When we hired Cooper, what was the thing that everyone was worried about? It was that record of only 2 away wins with Forest in 2 years, and it's like not been fun or anything. If you've seen that yesterday, you can understand why it happened. It's just been, you know, it's way too negative. That was very similar to how Brendan would do it, to be fair. And that didn't work either.
And we
got to have a bit more guts.
We slagged him off for that.
Yeah, Rodgers. Exactly. Hence, we're slagging off Cooper for this one.
Yeah, but apparently we're not allowed to slag off Cooper, according to some people. I mean, I had a message off my mate Wolfie, the Forest fan, who, of course, does like to stir some shit, of course. He said, honestly, mate, your fan base is just playing out what happened to us in an identical fashion. Some people are blinded by Mr. PR, Mr. Cooper, I think. And I'm not saying he's a bad manager. I just don't think I just think he's making a lot of mistakes, and they seem to be the same mistakes he made at Nottingham Forest, from what I've heard from Wolfie, if I'm honest. I'll move on to another comment here. By the way, as I just said, because I know a few other people have just joined, please get your comments and hit the like button, hit subscribe on both my channel, Blue Tinted Glasses, and also for Fox Sake TV. Craig says, honestly, I don't think Cooper is not good enough. Or I honestly don't think Cooper's good enough. Hopefully he proves me wrong. Reedy says, we got told we are negative for having our own opinion. We were happy with the performance, but we weren't happy with how defensive we went. It's not a negative, just what we thought. Yeah, I mean, you're very analytical, Anil, and you're very kind of tactically minded, I suppose, if you want to call it that. I see football quite very much more like simplistic. Like, I see it as one way or the other. I see it as, we are attacking or we are defending, in my mind yesterday. But obviously from your more analytical mind, do you agree with what Reedy said? Is it just as simple as we went too defensive? Is it that simple?
Well, I'll argue Reedy's point for a second. I mean, point is, if Connor Cody doesn't have a brain fart, we probably do come away with all 3 points. And it's not just he's given away a penalty, but in that same sequence, he's actually made 3 mistakes because he's got the ball. He's got plenty of time to either hoof it or pass it out to someone. He makes the wrong decision. He dwells on the ball, and then he just makes an absolute brain dead challenge when he doesn't need to. There's no guarantee that the player is going to score there, Ismail Assar. So if he doesn't do that, we'll probably get away with it. However, as we showed with the threat graph, right? If you actually look at the stats as well at the end of the game, Crystal Palace's XG went crazy. But funnily enough, the XG wasn't that high until that last 15 minutes because we invited onto them. So being objective and looking at it from a how would you fix it with a managerial point of view, if you've got no outlet, if you're losing territory, if you're seceding control and everything like that, it's not objectively, it's wrong to do that. You can be defensive, but the structure wasn't working. It wasn't working because there was no outlet. There was no way to get on the ball to relieve the pressure. So you're just inviting wave upon wave on you. And therefore, it's inevitable you're going to concede. Now, fair play, you've ended up conceding in the 92nd minute. The penalty was given away in the 90th minute. So you're only 5 minutes away. But Premier League is brutal. Players are going to be getting tired. So, yeah, I think it's... but, yeah, that's how Cooper will see it. But I'm just saying that, if you're not recognizing those issues, there's other things he could have done, right? For example, so Vardy was absolutely knackered, right? Who is the outlet? So put someone else on, and people say, oh, well, we didn't have Edouard. But in cases like that, you could literally put anybody on the pitch because it doesn't matter if they don't even know how to play striker. What they are, they just need to press. Just when you get the ball, just hold it up. You don't need to do anything. Like Cooper only used 3 out of 5 substitutes there whilst we're inviting pressure on us, right? He's also brought on Connor Cody, who I don't think is match fit because he hasn't played that many games and he's come back from an injury and he's made a rash challenge, which has led to a penalty because he's maybe not up to speed. Why not Vestergaard? If we're defending deep, do you need to have Cody? Or Vestergaard's taller, by the way, probably better with the aerial threat. In terms of energy, why not put Casey McAteer on, who we know is a bundle of energy, who can do it? If you need someone who can get on the ball, keep their composure and make a pass, what about Bilal El Khanous? Right? We heard that Buonanotte wasn't available for the full 90 minutes, but you're telling me he can't play 10 minutes at the end?
He played against Villa for 20 minutes, didn't he?
Exactly. So I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of things that go against him. He probably will feel unlucky, and I'll be interested to see if he learns any from this, though, because I hate to say it, but I would actually say that you kind of got your comeuppance for being so negative, and you need to learn from that going forwards, I think. So maybe it's learning the hard way.
Yeah, I do like how level-headed you are, Anil. I do, because I do need it sometimes. The other people I speak to, some other people, are very just as animated as me, but on the other side, like, no, you can't slate Cooper, you're attacking him, and blah, blah, blah. And these are the same people that attacked Enzo, of course. So, the Silver Fox says the most positive game yet, just poor game management. I mean, this is what I'm saying. I agree that I think the first half yesterday was the best performance so far of the season, right? And we know how good we were against Spurs at times in the second half. We know how good we were against Villa at times. But I think yesterday, that first 45 minutes was the best. Well, you could say the first 46 because we scored straight away. And I think their first goal, mate, was a complete lack of concentration. I think we'd scored 20 seconds into the half. It was like a bit of chaos in the game. I think Crystal Palace didn't know what was going on. Leicester probably didn't know what was going on. We were shocked. As fans, we were shocked. And, you know, I think it just led to that, you know. So, but no, I think, yeah, it was the most positive half of football, yeah. And I do think it is. I do believe, mate, it comes down to poor management. I 100%, because you're saying, I keep seeing people say Bilal isn't ready because he hasn't trained much. But what, Connor Cody, who's not played a single minute, is ready to come in at such a high stake moment of a game? Like, to me, that's just like baffling. And I agree, Vestergaard, you know, Vestergaard probably is the more sensible option there. If you're going to make that change in terms of a centre-back coming on, then yeah, I agree. And I also agree with what you said, bang on, mate, about even if it's not a striker, because my first thought originally was maybe Mavididi can come on and play as, yeah, well, I know he was already on, but move over and play as the number 9, like Steve Cooper was so adamant on doing in pre-season, by the way, over Tom Cannon. And that's another one, by the way. Tom Cannon was shipped off to Stoke, you know. He could have come on if he was still at the football club. So I don't know, mate. I feel like there's a few like hypocrisies really from Steve Cooper recently, because it was like, you know, I mean, the whole thing with the creative players for Kunde Buonanotte and Bilal, he was crying out for these players in pre-season, and then since the season started, he's barely used them, you know?
Yeah, that's a bit hypocritical, isn't it, from him, that he's like moaning about that and then you're not using them. I mean, let's be honest, the Everton game is going to be absolutely huge, right? I mean, if we don't win that'll be 5 games without a win. And it wouldn't surprise me, honestly, if they did consider making a change, because the thing is that Cooper's got no credit in the locker, in the tank with the Leicester supporters or even the hierarchy, and people will be feeling grumpy. But coming back to that comment, I mean, I agree, that again is the frustrating thing. To give him some respect, he actually had a really good game plan. It executed it well, and it was working. And unfortunately, so he was both brilliant and crap at the same time. And actually, to put this into context, after we scored that second goal, I'm not lying, I'd started making a thumbnail for my video, and it was Steve Cooper smoking a cigar with sunglasses on it. So I was getting ready to be like, Steve Cooper masterclass, brilliant, you know, all is redeemed, went away to Palace and got a win, brilliant result. And then he's just literally thrown it away, which was so frustrating.
Well, this is what people are saying to me, mate, because I keep having people say to me that we can't slate Steve Cooper because it might have worked if Cody hadn't made the... And my response to that would be, well, if Steve Cooper played Danny Ward in goal yesterday over Mads Hermansen and he kept a clean sheet and made like loads of saves, we'd all be praising him for the change. Yeah. But if he also came in and conceded 5 goals and scored an own goal, we'd slate him. It doesn't matter. You know, it either works or it doesn't work. And
exactly
his game management in terms of bringing on the subs that he did, not bringing on a Facundo or whoever to kind of have some kind of outlet, it resulted in us not getting 3 points, in my opinion, at the end of the day. Of course, Connor Cody is the reason we didn't win the game. But in my opinion, Cooper's changes in his management, game management, set us up to fail, is what I'm trying to say. Because as soon as those changes were made, Anil, do you agree? There was only one team that was going to score, and it wasn't Leicester City. It wasn't going to be Leicester.
And do you know what? That is actually, I'm so glad you brought it up. So objectively, that's what went wrong. Yeah, it's not even why not go for a third. What it is we had no possibility of scoring the third. That's what's worse. That's why it was such a bad decision. His setup basically was we were going to be fairly defensive, but we were going to look to try and beat Palace by being better on transition than they were. And it worked because we scored twice off transitions. And in fact, we almost scored a few more times off transition. So that was really working well. But as soon as we made those changes in the second half, you could see that every time we got the ball, I think the nearest thing that happened is Fatawu tried to kick it into the goal from 65 yards out. Right. Another stupid change, by the way, where was Fatawu brought onto the left-hand side, not the right-hand side? Doesn't make sense. So at the end of the game, our only possibility of scoring was Fatawu played out of position or Jamie Vardy with his walking stick up front. Right. You know, both good players, but they're not going to get you out of trouble there. So therefore, we were never going to score a third goal. So then, as per your point, by a process of elimination, that means there's only one team that is going to score. And because you're playing in a way that's inviting it, and this is a team, by the way, that we hadn't kept a clean sheet. yet this season. Well, against Tranmere we did, and then we were holding on. It just, I just don't think it was. And again, we mentioned the fact that Cody, another player who's tired, he should have put a lot more energy onto the pitch if that's what it was going for. Like, as something to get you out. With no outlet, it's inevitable, in my opinion.
Yeah, morning to Rennie B, and morning to everybody, by the way, who is in the chat. Keep getting your comments in. We will discuss them all. It might just take a little bit of time to get through them all. Krishna says, unlucky. I think we needed Edouard that game for the long ball game. I think we needed to put McAteer on for energy and Bilal, who can keep the ball under pressure. Yeah, it's a shame Edouard wasn't available, of course, but he will be available. We're going to touch on that just very briefly because we have Foxes Den coming on Wednesday, so that'll be the main the main opportunity to talk about the team next week. But I'm going to touch on Edouard briefly just before we end, so that'll be soon. But the next comment here is from Joe, who says, Ndidi, 2 assists and probably man of the match, but I'd still have one of the 10s there that we have. Put Ndidi next to Skip in midfield. Yeah, that's a good opportunity, mate, for me to talk about Harry Winks. What did you make to him? Because I think he's been very, of course, statistically, we spoke about how is it line cutting passes,
line breaking passes,
in the league. Yeah. But he just, I mean, I suppose this is the type of player he is, but you don't really notice him, do you? And I think it's especially in the Premier League, we haven't really noticed him this season.
Yeah, that is a fair point. I mean, I wouldn't be dropping Winks. I think the entire system is actually built around Harry Winks. The way that Cooper likes it is he's the one that kind of starts the move. But he wasn't maybe he definitely wasn't effective in this match as he has been in previous ones. If you compare him, for example, to Adam Wharton for Palace, I think Wharton had a really strong game. Like he was dictating.
Yes.
But I would say that for us, I think Oliver Skip was the Harry Winks of yesterday, if that makes sense. But I guess the point is, I mean, I get what he's saying, but I think Ndidi, I mean, if you look at his stats, I'm pretty sure that he's the best Leicester player this season. He's leading on everything other than goals, like most tackles, most interceptions, most headers, 3 assists in 4 games, by the way. You know, the team plays better when to be honest, this is just like last season, where everyone was like, I'm not sure about Ndidi as one of these high-pressing 8s. And yet the fact was, when Ndidi was in the team, we got points. And when he was injured, we started dropping them. But for what it's worth, I would also put another creative player in there. I've always said that I would drop Christensen and just do what we did last season. So you've got Mavadidi as the actual out-and-out winger. Then you could have the 2 8s like we had last season. And then you could still have the double pivot of Winks and Skip together. But I don't think Cooper's going to do that. So it will be interesting to see what he does this time round.
I do agree. I think it would be harsh to drop Christensen, but it just, and I've spoken a little bit about the whole inverted fullback thing. Could Ricardo, get a space back in the team by being in that role again? But I honestly don't think Steve Cooper has the. I'm not trying to be rude to Cooper, but I don't think he sees football that way. You know what I'm trying to say. Like you won't see Sean Dyche inverting fullbacks, right? But so my point is I think it's above him, or not even above him, because that's not really fair to say one style of football is above the other. But it's not in his mind. I don't think he will even consider playing with inverted fullbacks this season. I can't see it. I can't see it. This is a good point, of course, Anil. We would have all taken a point before the game. Are we being unfair? Maybe you wouldn't have. I mean, I would have. And I've been negative all year, and I would have taken a point. So, well, first of all, would you have taken a point before the game?
I actually said I wouldn't, to be honest with you. I was really hoping for the 3. I mean, we did discuss that. No, I think to be fair, I said I would begrudgingly accept it, but and look, to be fair, I mean, I remember what we were saying is that, like, well, what if we went for it and we tried to win, but we ended up with either no points or 1 point? Would that be okay? So I guess on that basis, we went for it for, as you say, 60 minutes, and then we stopped going for it. Look, I think it's an okay result. I think most seasons, a point away to Palace, you'd probably think it's all right. It's neither good nor bad about it, kind of thing. Frustrating to give the 2-0 away, that's for sure. At least this time round, we scored first. We didn't start the game negatively either, right? We were making the better quality chances. But as I say, I don't know, it just felt too protective. So I suppose so. But as I say, I feel kind of salty still.
Yeah, I get you, mate. It was so heartbreaking. I think just how it happened as well. It was just like, I mean, I was doing the first ever match day live watch along on the Blue Tinted Glasses YouTube channel. So if anybody's watching now in the chat who wasn't watching yesterday, if you go back to my live yesterday, just the clock's on screen, so you can go to the minutes the goals were scored, and you'll see my reactions to that. I'm hoping I might actually get the reactions clipped up and put out in a video as well, so you can see that. But it was just heartbreaking how it happened. And, you know, again, I understand that I would have taken a point. So some people look at me moaning about it yesterday as a bit silly when I would have taken a point before the game. But expectations change, especially, I know it was only for a minute, but when you're 2-0 up, you expect to win a game of football. You know, in the Premier League, if you're a serious team, you don't, you know, you look at Everton 2 weeks in a row or 2 games in a row, they've been 2-0 up and lost 3-2. And it's not good enough. And I think Everton are going to be like chomping at the bit, mate, next weekend, by the way. I think it's going to be a real tough game, that Sean Dyche. So I said I wanted to touch on it a little bit. For you, does Edouard start against Everton? Because I think it's a bit more tricky now that Vardy scored again. Because this time yesterday, I would have said I want Edouard to start against Everton. But Vardy scored again. Can you drop him?
No, his stats are really good, but just we need to sub him, obviously, and not just run him into the ground. That's a mistake we've made in both of the previous 2 games, if you ask me. I think against Villa, maybe a bit like Brendan, it's like the player that you're counting on to score is going to be Vardy out of everyone. But yeah, I would start him for sure. His, like I said, his stats are really good. It wasn't just his goal; he linked the play up really well. Almost played in Mavadidi, who maybe could have done a bit better. So I start Vardy, but it would have been nice to have Edouard available for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Rights Wildlife says, hello, liked and sub. Thank you so much, my friend. If anybody who is watching this who hasn't liked or subscribed yet, please do so. That would be much appreciated. Vardy to start, Dawn says. Edouard won't start, Klebo1 says. Krishna says, I wouldn't start Vardy. Still need him as a super sub that can stretch tired defenses. I agree with that, Krishna. I just think because he scored, he will start. You know, rightly or wrongly, I just think now because of that, you know, if he'd gone another game without scoring, I could probably see Edouard starting. But yeah, I just think after the goal it will happen. I think eventually, though, Anil, it will be the case of Vardy being an impact sub this season later on. We'll have to see how Edouard gets on. I mean, again, if he comes into the team and doesn't score many goals, then we're in a bit of a sticky situation. We might have to buy
Daka
in
will
January.
be back at some point. Daka will be back at some point, and
he will.
Well,
be.
you can. I know that fills you with glee, but I mean, he was starting most of the preseason friendlies, so I believe that he probably will be. And you know why? Because Daka works hard and runs around a lot, and as we're noticing a little bit of a trend in the preferred players that Steve Cooper likes in his team.
Yeah, we thought Enzo liked his favourites, but bloody hell, Steve Cooper, crikey. The GOAT Daka, oh God. 30 plus goals in the Premier League. What was going on? There is no doubt, though, that he did prefer Daka in pre-season, didn't he? So it is likely that when he is fit, unless Edouard goes on some kind of crazy goal-scoring record, it looks like Daka will be the guy to come back in. Do you think it suits how we've played so far? Do you think it suits Daka?
It could do, because, like I say, he values players that press a lot, gets involved. The pace on the transition will be useful. So it could do, but Daka's problem has always been he's never really been clinical at Premier League level. Like, look at the goal that Vardy scored yesterday. It shows you it doesn't matter how old you're. If you've still got it, you've still got it, right? So he was great. But look, I think the way that it is that whoever starts is unlikely going to finish it when we've got enough options. So they'll have to share it between the 3 of them.
Yeah.
And what does Daka do? He runs around a lot. That's basically the TLDR. But he is good at pressing and winning a ball back. That's where he's good, and that's what he's basically in the team for. But look, for what it's worth, I think we all did say at the start of the season, even with Edouard, is do we have enough firepower in a number 9 position? But if we look at it, so how many goals have we scored? We've actually scored, I think, 5 goals now, haven't we, right, in the 4 games?
1, 2, 3. Yeah, 5, yeah.
So if you're averaging a goal or slightly above per game, that's okay. I would argue the problem is still the other end, because we've given away 2 again yesterday. We need a clean sheet. Where's the clean sheets coming from?
Yeah, so obviously 2 have come from Vards, one from Fass, one from Buenanotte, and one
Mavididi.
Mavididi. So 5. So yeah. I mean, look, it's not the end of the world. Of course it's not. It's not a disaster so far. We are 14th, 15th in the league. We are doing well, I would say. I would give us so far, Anil, probably a score of about 6 out of 10, if I'm being completely honest. I wouldn't say it's anything less than that. So, I just feel like Steve Cooper has cost us a couple of points so far, if I'm completely honest. Some people disagree with that. That's fine. That's that's how football works. But yeah, it's not a disaster. But I know we touched on it, Anil. But man of the match, yeah, for me it has to be either Wilfred and Didi, or I think Wout Fass had a great first half. By the way, I think he had a
Well,
really
he
good
absolutely
first
bailed
half.
out Christensen, who did some ridiculous defending for one of the goals. So that's true. But I have to look at Ndidi. I just think he made things happen on both ends of the pitch, and he was a threat throughout the game. And as I say, do you know what? As soon as he got withdrawn, I got vibes of like when Brendan would take off Keane and Dewsbury Hall with 15 minutes to go and we'd lose the match. Like I remember at the start of the relegation season, we played Brentford. We were 2-0 up, cruising. He takes off
Yeah.
Dewsbury Hall and it goes back to 2-2. And as soon as he took Ndidi off, I was like, oof, that's not the player I would take off. And yeah, I just felt like the bite and control that he had given us, we dropped and it was inevitable. So for me, easy man of the match.
Yeah, before we finish, mate, I wanted to have a quick look at a cesspit, which is Twitter, of course. So let's just go through a couple of things and just make a comment on them. People in the chat as well, get your comments in. What did you think to the whole Steve Cooper's comments after the game about VAR? We've all seen the screenshots, mate, of what happened. It looks like it was James Justin that kept him onside. I think the image shown on TV, and I don't know, I'm guessing they have like TVs in the dugouts as well, maybe, or little screens. Some football clubs do that. They showed an angle where you couldn't see James Justin. You just saw Mateta.
Yeah.
So what did you make? Do you think it was just a very, very close decision? Very close, drawing of the lines and all that. I mean, what's your overall thoughts on it?
During the match, when it was being shown, I couldn't understand it at all. I was like, this is like blatantly offside, isn't it? Like the two defenders are playing him off. And then you've got this rogue foot. So I can definitely understand why he's upset. Like you said we switched off, but I just feel it was a bit unlucky, if I'm being honest. So I've got the dogs outside barking. That's what they think of the offside decision. So yeah, look, because to be fair, I think if that doesn't go in, we probably again win the game because it just happened so quickly after going 2-0 up. If we'd have kept that lead for 10 minutes, the whole game's going to be different. It is what it is. But I think it's kind of bad, though, from Cooper to just bemoaning that, right? That's never a good look when a manager's bemoaning decisions like that. I think it was unlucky, but sometimes these decisions go for or against you. And I don't think overall that's the reason why. If that had happened in the 96th minute and that's the reason, I think then people can be pissed. But it's like you've got enough time after that to make changes.
Yeah, we've got 3 tweets here. Steve Cooper thrown away an away win today. That's the headline. Really trying not to join the Steve Cooper pylon, but he's not making it easy, is he? God, good grief. And then another one which says, people telling me it's not Steve Cooper's fault that he brought on an out-of-form, barely kicked a ball all season centre-back in the final 10 of a low block. I've been very vocal about him needing time and to trust the process, but you have to take accountability for these things. I think LCFC shitposting there is a good Twitter account. Sometimes he goes over the top of things, but that is probably, he hits a nail on the head, doesn't he? I mean, people are saying it's not Steve Cooper's fault. It's not Steve Cooper's fault. It's Connor Cody. But surely we can agree that what this Twitter user here, the point he makes is bang on, isn't it? He brought on the out of form, barely kicked a ball option when you had Organic Vestergaard sat next to him on the bench.
Yeah, I agree with him. That's basically been the theme of the show. That's what we think it is as well, is that like you're crying, but you've brought it upon yourself.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Some of the stuff as usual. Let's end on this. Let's end on this one. There's some crazy tweets. I've just seen one a bit further up, but I won't bring it up on the screen because it was a bit nasty. But the last one. Let's end on this. We spoke about Wilf. Wilf said, Steve Cooper wants us to be more than just a team and fight for these points, which is really working. I mean, I'd argue it's not because we've only got 2. But anyway, we've got quality players and a brilliant coach. We just need to stay in games towards the end. I know game by game, the confidence is building up. Final comments on that one, mate? I mean, again, I don't know. It was...
Well, what I would say is, despite the fact that we've been really negative, I would still argue that we've actually been better in every game than the previous one. And in fact, in this game, we were really good, as you say, for 46 minutes. So, and we took the lead, and in fact, doubled the lead. So we were actually pretty good. So that implies if we keep improving, we'll be better. But we have to win the next game. I think if he doesn't win, I mean, he may be still kept around, but the fans will be begging for blood at that point in time. Because, if we'd have got 3 points yesterday and then we beat Everton, we'd be 7 points ahead of them come the next round of fixtures. Can you imagine being 5 games in a season, being 7 points clear of someone who's relegation favourite? Now, unfortunately, there's the possibility if they beat us that they're going to be ahead of us after 5 games, right? Completely different scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. We are ending now. I do have one final question, and it's very hypothetical, and it's a question some people won't like, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Would we be on more or less or the same than 2 points if Enzo Maresca was in charge of Leicester City still?
I think we'd be on more. Reason I think that, though, is I think the morale in the club would be much better. That was always the issue. That you've got continuity, right?
Yeah. I agree. I take it would be close. I don't think we would have beaten it. All right, Andreas. You don't need to say shut up. It's a bit rude. Christian hasn't said anything wrong. Andreas, I think, is very much Steve Cooper's god and all that. So we won't need to touch that comment. But none of that, please, Andreas. Thank you. That's it for the show. Thanks to people who have joined me and Anil. It's just a nice little good morning chill. This will happen every Sunday morning. Anil might not be there every Sunday because he's got a life, I'm sure, but I will be here every Sunday morning. So thanks to everyone who has joined along, left comments. It's very much appreciated. Hit the like button as well. Hit subscribe. Head over to For Fox's Sake TV because he has got a beautiful instant match reaction on instant match analysis from yesterday. And I'm sure, Anil, you'll have another video coming soon as well.
Yes, I'm actually watching the match on my other screen in full as we go and kind of clenching my butt cheeks again.
I wonder what's going to happen at the 90th minute, mate. Ooh, spoilers! Thank you, Christian. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. I know that I think originally came from Anil's channel, so thank you so much for your support on this one as well. Join me and Anil on Wednesday for, I think are you going to be there?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Foxes Den, where we look forward to Everton. That'll be at 7:00 on Wednesday. I will have a video coming out tomorrow, which will be a reacting to Leicester Twitter after the draw with Crystal Palace. So that's always an interesting one. So keep a lookout for that. As Rennie says here, I think me and Anil will both be watching the North London derby later. So that should be a good one. Let's watch some real football. Thank you all. Cheers as always. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.